What's up guys, this is Shana and welcome back to the iherng podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Makeover Guys. So if you guys have just received the keys to your brand new unit, either for investment or for own stay, do check out the services from the Makeover Guys as they will maximize your budget to fully furnish your unit. If you don't know where to even start, may I suggest to actually just check out the experience center located in M Hub Kota Damansara. So there you will learn about the types of furnishing that you can do, how to maximize the budget that you have, and most importantly is how to prioritize different spaces with that very limited resources that we have. Personally, I've used them for all of my investments, so I will heavily recommend them. Link down below. And today we will answer a question from email. This is from CY. Hello Sean, I really like watching your video and I have been watching it because I am currently in a huge dilemma about whether to buy or not. So just want to get your opinion. I actually did a post on Reddit, but there was just a mix of suggestions. Buy a landed instead since I can afford, don't buy and invest the money elsewhere, buy since I already know where I want to stay. So the question is buying a house or continue renting in Taman Desa. So that three statement makes sense now. Summary of my finances. My current monthly income is about 17,000. I have a monthly excess income of about 4,500, and even after deducting 4,000 of targeted saving and all other monthly expenses, the targeted saving is being invested, which I currently prioritize on Malaysian banking stocks, and half of it in EPF voluntary contribution. Refer to the attached for a breakdown. This is insane. I have annual excess income of about 35,000 for the year in 2025 after deducting other annual expenses. I am currently paying for a 3,000 monthly rental for a 1,600 square feet condo in Taman Desa, which is out of urgency because my last landlord decided to take back the place. I've moved into a different place in November 2025, which is smaller and less rental payment. I have about 180,000 in equity plus cash and 235,000 in EPF fund. I have two cars under me, one for my mum. Total remaining outstanding is about 156,000. My profile, 34 years old, male, no life partner and won't have kids, if you know what this means. Gotcha. Stable job, not the professional kind, doctor, lawyer, but I'm considered very lucky to be earning what I have. Never had a career break or gap in the last 8 years, and I work extra on the side as freelancer since 2021, earning about 1,000 to 1,500 extra a month. I am responsible to retire my mom as she has been a housewife almost all her life. She has very little savings, maybe about 60 to 70,000, and my father has passed away leaving no cash but a hometown house for my mom. Whenever I can, I eat chap fan every day for lunch and I cook my own dinner nowadays. Didn't fly internationally in the last 5 years, so I am pretty frugal. The trigger. I grew older, and as I walked into my friend's new house, I began to envy them. They have places of their own, they can buy their own furniture and design how it should be. I have also begun to feel tired of moving from places to places because of renting, and I've moved 3 times in the last 6 years. Taman Desa is really the place I would settle down in the next 5 to 10 years time, or even retire if I am lucky enough. The project that I'm looking at right now is the Atas. It's about 850,000 minus everything. Potential monthly mortgage is about 3,800 per month. Dilemma. Some of my friends and family members regretted buying houses because the cost of ownership is way higher than what is projected. The best would have been choosing a place which my partner would stay in too, but I really don't have that now. This is the case where I stay is too far from my partner's workplace. My sister had this problem and they had to rent elsewhere. Many of my friends and family still encourage me not to buy unless I have a definite motivation like getting married. I do think that I have this motivation, which is when I really need to take care of my mom when she is old, there is a place for her securely. Thank you. CY. And just to illustrate how tedious this guy is, right? He has kind of made tables of his spending, and what's amazing, right? For his parents, he has already specified out like mom's new phone, dad's new TV, all the expenditure, even including a burial plot that results in about 40,000. And this is just to show all the expenditures and budgeting strategy applied by CY here lah. Okay, so in summary, making 17,000, 34 years old male, renting is 3,000 but shifted place 3 times in 6 years time, so tired already, sian already. Now want to think about this new project called the Atas. monthly mortgage is about 3,008. He invests a lot in equity and cash, so it's about 180,000 and 235,000 in EPF. So got 2 cars now, single now, no partner, but the idea of buying a house comes when he visits his friends. But the fear is whether should he buy, because the worry is it ends up like his sister, where the house is located too far from the workplace, so end up after having a home also they need to rent another place. So I think this is rather direct. Just apply the 85% rule. For those who are not familiar with this rule, this is a rule when I came up with because of dilemma of such. Based on the Sean's 4 basic steps before you want to start buying a property, the first step is to actually get the intent right. And the intent is formed by 3. One is for own stay, one is for investment, one is to show off. Most of us are within these 2 only. And within the 2, for investment and for own stay, they will have very different priorities. And to deep dive deeper, for investment also, are you buying it for capital appreciation? Are you buying it for rental? Or are you buying it for cash back purposes? That one a little bit deep already, but just for now, it's based on investment and own stay. Due to the very limited resources that we have, the common feedback from you guys is, hey, I only can buy one, right? And if I buy one for investment, then what I'm going to do? For me, I have always encouraged, in fact, I'm still practicing this, I will always prioritize investment first. Means I will buy properties for investment purposes where the rent can cover the installment. Then I will roll to my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th to an extent where now the total rent minus the total investment of my portfolio has a surplus and it's actually paying for the rent of my house currently. And just for clarification, because this is under the Maybank House Key scheme, so technically I'm still a tenant to the bank. Why do I take that approach? Is because if I were to buy my first house, there won't be any rental income from that property. And with that, that eats up a lot of DSR. DSR is debt service ratio, where the bank evaluates your risk based on that. Let's say if now, in CY's case, his monthly income is about 17,000, okay? So 17,000 you minus off your 3,000 in monthly installment, right? So it's actually left 14,000 for the next property. But if I buy a property and I rent it out, so since I have a renter that can cover my installment, let's say break even. So if I will use 17,000 to buy my first property and I rent it out, I can declare the rent collected as part of my income. So when I buy my second property, my income is still 17,000, fully considered for the loan application instead of just 14,000. But in this amount then, it's not as evident because salary amount is too high lah. But if you think about, if you just start out, right, like 5,000 or 6,000 ringgit, right, you pay for a house that is 2,000, left nothing leh. And we haven't even included the cars and things like that yet. So the idea is to just hold back the ownership part of a home as long as we can, because I'm using those slots to build up a portfolio. By the time I'm 40 to 45, only I will get a proper home that I want. Next criteria, this only applies to property enthusiasts or we are heavily into property investment kind of folks. And I totally understand property investment is not for everybody. Like for CY's case here, so he invests heavily in Malaysian stocks, especially banking stocks, and he has a very huge amount in his EPF contributions. So ultimately, he's buying a property mainly for the purpose of a home, a place with security, safety, and he can build his peace. So a very quick answer to CY's case is just buy the property, bro. Since you like it, just get it, and obviously you can afford it, right? And that's because of several reasons. Number one, back to the 85% rule. So the 85% applies when you want to buy a property also for investment purposes, also for own stay purposes. Now the mistake of everybody buying a dream home, the decision is often heavily influenced by emotional needs. Means I want a landed, just landed, don't care whether is it in a far away location, I don't care. It must be a double-story landed house. Just want to have a landed, I don't want to stay high-rise. Most of the case for Malaysians who grown up in the urban setting, this ends up in somewhat like the sister's case lah. Imagine if you were to stay into Kajang or you stay in Rawang, right? Every day you still need to report to Jalan Tun Razak. Then what's the point, right? You spend 4 to 5 hours on the traffic every single day. Why? It will be a very, very dreadful process. And in those kind of examples, most of the time is this. Because you buy that house is for a home, so you will put in a lot of money for the furnishing. Then when you want to rent out, you kind of have this blockage because you worry that the tenant will not take care of your dream home. That becomes a problem. Then, okay, if you don't want to rent out, let's sell lah. When you want to sell, because you already dump in so much money for renovation, it carries no valuation. And in a far away location property, there's just not enough demand. You need to really find another person who shares the same sentiment as you in that particular property. And guess what? It's very limited. That results in a property that owners will lose money. But because it's already a dream home category, dream home is something where the budget must be somewhat painful enough. You will really feel the pinch financially, only it's good enough to be declared as a dream home. End up, when you lose money, means the current market price is lower than whatever you're paying for to the bank, right? You're not going to be able to even sell, because if you were to sell at a loss, you need to pay back the bank. For example, you buy the landed house for about 1.2 million. Now market price is max 900,000, okay? But you already dump in about 300,000 to furnish the home. It doesn't really add value, a lot of value to the 900,000, okay? So it means if you want to sell the property today, just sell, right? After selling the house at 900,000, you still owe your bank 300,000 because you bought it at 1.2 million. So that can be in a form of another separate loan altogether, or you just need to put up some cash to actually offset that lah. At the same time, because the location is not relevant to your work environment, the traveling time don't make sense. In order to curb that, you need to rent another place in the city center. So now, Monday to Friday, you are paying for rent in a property. Then Saturday, Sunday, you come back to do what you really enjoy the house with. You just come back and clean the house only. So Monday to Friday work, Saturday, Sunday also need to work. Then what's the point? That's the fear of CY here, which I absolutely agree. But in your case, CY now, because you're buying a property in a rather central location, Taman Desa technically it's KL, right? Opposite is Mid Valley really. And I like the fact that you already know that you like the location, because after 6 years, you move 3 times already, it's still around the area, you know the place. That's number one. In terms of informed decision level, you are there. Secondly, because the current rent that you're paying is already 3,000, the new installment that you're going to pay for is about 3,008. This is where the 85% rule happens. So the 85% rule applies if the current rent of the location can cover about 85% of your installment amount. It's a very good own stay property. How do I came up with this rule? It's because in our monthly installments, every month, let's say if I were to pay 3,008 in this case, right? For the first 10 years, 88% of that total payment goes to interest. So if let's say 3 to 5 years later, I want to upgrade, right? Or maybe your mother really needs to stay with you already and she wants to stay somewhere else. We listen to our mother, then we're gonna move as well. At that particular moment, then you won't feel as pain, because for the monthly installment of 3,008, now you can collect a rent which is about 3,000 ringgit averagely in Taman Desa. So in other words, it means that the tenant will at least cover the interest portion of your property, which is also a strategy to ensure an exit plan for the property. So the fear of own stay property, as I mentioned just now, like you want to rent out, you cannot, you want to sell also cannot, then you hold also is very painful, then what's the whole point? You will create this hatred towards property altogether. And that's mainly because the setting of consideration for an investment property versus an own stay property is just different. For own stay, we want serenity, we want privacy, low density, quiet, but I still yet want convenience, very close to amenities. So a property with such characteristic, the only possibility will be two. One is very far away within your budget. The second is it's going to be very, very expensive if this is located within a convenient location. Think about Damansara Heights, think about Bukit Tungku, think about Bangsa, think about Desa Bak City. All those criterias, privacy, serenity, convenience, close to amenities. But if it's in a city, very expensive. If you've got no budget, then you stay very, very far away. But for investment, then it's a very different story where I want mixed development, directly connected to LRT or MRT, close to all offices. The more busy, the better, because the temporary demand of space is high, the renter can cover installment. Why 85% is the benchmark is because at least the exit strategy is established. Why not more is because of this difference between the own stay and investment property. And this is the weird thing, like when you are earning about 3,000 to 6,000, you are just starting off in the society. It's okay one, I stay in a 3-bedroom apartment. 1 month, my rent is about 700 to 800, it's fine. But as our income progress, the need of lifestyle certainty also change. Right? As much as CY says that he's very frugal, he eats up fun, he lives within his means, save as much as he can, but your monthly installment is 3,000, and that's the next point that I'm trying to make. I really only understand this concept after I settle down in this particular property. What are we paying monthly installments for? So besides space, right, in terms of quantity, you got about 1,000 square feet, 3 bedroom, whatever, all those kind of things, right? It's actually more than just number of rooms, build-ups. It's for the lifestyle that we have, it's for that peace of mind, it's for that motivation. Ultimately, it's for that certainty as well. In this ever-changing society, today you go to work, don't know what will happen. Today you come back from home, what's gonna happen? Everything is uncertain besides your home, because it's absolutely 100% in your control. So a lot of people ask me, when is the right time to actually buy a home and enjoy life, right? It's when you can afford it. In CY's case, you can absolutely afford it. The second thing is when you have that need. And that need, I consider, is part of living expenses. This concept is still rather new in my head, but I just want to compare it. It's like a car. Instead of a Myvi, it can perfectly bring you from point A to point B. What's wrong with the Camry? Camry is still considered a very practical option. Then why not a GLC? Why not a G-Wagon? Why not a Bentley, right? So those are expenses. They are not meant to bring you returns in terms of monetary sense, but the return is the emotional validation from the public, from their friends. If you need that to excel in your life, you can afford it. Go ahead and buy it, right? Stir up more economy for Malaysia. Very good, right? But the other spectrum of it is actually for home. Now, I just put in about 150,000 for the renovation. In financial terms, it absolutely makes no sense, because a shelf is a shelf, right? What's the difference between a 3,000 shelf and a 30,000 shelf? To an investor, it's just money, but to the user of the space, then it's mine. It's catered to my needs, my design, my requirement, my height, my way of cooking, and indirectly that feeds you as an individual. The space feeds your soul, so you can work better every single day in exchange for more money, so you can afford the place. That's why for a lot of investors out there, right, if you're a guy listening to this, right, ultimately after the second or third property for investment, what's the hint to get a property for a home? It's when our partner starts asking for elements of certainty, which means I want to get married, to have a place to call home. And what is home, right? It's a space where you can really make it your own. Rental house also can, right? Rental house absolutely also can, but you will never know that, like in CY's case, the owner wants to take back. And it's very heartbroken. Imagine in the busiest season in your career, right? You just need to nail this series of numbers, nail this series of presentation. You will get promoted big, and you just receive that phone call, hey, next month, right, can you move out, because I kind of need the place back. My daughter coming back from US, and whatever rental payment that you have made, right, I will pay it back to you, no worries. Just get out by the end of the month. Wow, potong steam, right? So for that form of certainty, that's also part of the cost of the monthly installment that we are paying. Just that unfortunately, within this time and setting, the price of that certainty only goes up. And CY here also, he clarified he watched a lot. So before buying a home, I always urge people to have 3 things first. Very sufficient savings, in his case, a lot lah. The second thing, clarity in career, very clear, right? The third is to have protection, which is also covered within his Excel sheet and things like that. But this is more of a conversation that whether can you afford to spend on housing. Housing here then means ownership of a property in a location that you like. In his case here, solid, right? In my opinion, go ahead. Another thought process to that is what's the worst that can happen? When you buy already, then when you get the keys, you fully furnish the place to your liking and you just move in, suddenly you get offer a very handsome job offer, too good to reject, or maybe double of your current income, right? Like now I will pay you 34,000 just to move over, and since you got no commitment, you still have some time before your mom is going to move in with you. To me, take it lah, right? This place then do what? Rent out lor. And the current rent for the space around that location is about 3,000. Expect a 3,000 rent. All good. So in summary, go ahead, bro. I really support that decision. Is because in terms of saving, protection, and career, you already cleared that. In fact, clear with flying colors, right? Then you have absolute clarity in the location. You are really making an informed decision. And for this particular property in this particular location, it fulfills the 85% rule, and it's all good, right? Worst case scenario is also covered. And with that, sign the booking form, bro. And I guess for others who are watching this, right, I think for new property investors, it won't be applying too much. This is more of a perspective, looking at property as an expenditure to enjoy. Some property we buy with the intention of making money, and that's what we call property investment. But the other format is some properties we buy is actually to spend money. Right? Sometimes you look into the property, right? They buy 700,000 and they dump in 700,000 for renovation and it's all good. Technically, it's their money. They can totally afford it. So why should I judge, right? It's part of their enjoyment. And sometimes when we dwell into property investment too much from a monetary and investment point of view, right? We lose that core primary need of a house, which is for people to live in. And if you want to add more enjoyment to it, you will spend more money. And the best part about it, of course, is when you are enjoying for the next 30 years, suddenly you will still earn money from the property. Again, back to money. But anyway, you guys get the point. CY, thank you very much for writing in. And it's crazy how detailed you are. But for those who still have any questions regarding real estate, do just email me at taniherng@gmail.com. Or if you guys want to DM me on Instagram, it's fine. iherng will be the account. I'll try my best to answer everybody. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for writing in, CY. And I see you guys on the next one. Ciao. When love comes